fellas, ladies.
All right, folks. You see it. SportsRap Podcast, the group page live. Live. Right now. You hear it. You hear this theme song for the day. Can you feel it? Because you got to feel the vibe that's in the air. Definitely got to feel the vibe. So here's the intro. We coming. Couple of minutes away. It's go time. SportsRap. Heat 100 Radio. Here it is. You hear the drop.
Yep.
The intro music is here. New music.
Lit. Like that. Lit.
All right, folks. All right, folks. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. You know what it do. You know what it is.
Yep.
It is go time.
Yes, sir.
SportsRap Podcast is here. It's your boy, SportsRap D, in the building. And you know where we are. Just get on over. Tune in. You know what it is. The group page, SportsRap Podcast, LLC is where we are. And folks, you know what to do. You know how we do this. We here. My guys, Richard Drummond. I know you'll be chiming in soon. My other guy, Robert Reeves. I'm sure you'll be tuned in. Coach Stan Groovy Laws. I'm sure you will be tuned in.
Yes, sir.
Cousin Cookie, Margarita Martinez by the social handles. And everybody else that tunes in each and every week and follows us all the time on social media. We definitely appreciate y'all. Real quick, shout out to the boss lady. I know you're always tuned in. I know you were following yesterday. And I understand your fight, boss lady. It's all love. I understand the fight. Cuzzo got a little upset yesterday. But it's all in love and sports, if you get what I mean. But shout out to the Eagles for taking that game. Sorry your Cuzzo plays for the Cowboys. But again, like I said, boss lady, it's all love.
Yeah.
So sit tight. We got plenty of Philadelphia sports talk to talk about today. Listen, if you are a Philly sports fan, this weekend was arguably
the best in a long
best
time.
weekend in a long time.
Yes, it was.
Mel, thanks for tuning in. Mel Chappelle, what's going on, homie? Listen, and again, like I said, if you were a Philly sports fan, and you know what I'm talking about, This weekend was arguably one of the best in Philly sports history.
Yes, it was.
And it's so crazy. And I'm going to break down how my weekend started out for you guys, and we're going to fly right into it. So we backtracked to Thursday.
Right.
So, we were here last Monday. We did our thing like we always do on Mondays, each and every Monday.
Right.
And Thursday was our usual on-location day at the Drake Tavern.
Right.
Had to scratch that for different reasons. And if you saw my post, and I know you did because you follow me, you see what I'm doing, you're watching what I'm doing. You know where I was. Shout outs to the City Winery. Shout outs to the boss lady. I Am Athlete was here. Their live tour. They did a live taping. Again, shout outs to Brandon Marshall, Adam Pac-Man Jones, Omar Kelly. Who else? They had Deshaun Jackson. D-Jax came in replacement for LaShawn Jackson, who had some conflicting issues that he could not be there. And then they brought out big play Darius Slay.
Yeah.
So it was a great night. If you missed that, I'm sure you'll be able to see it on YouTube or whatever if you follow them. But I am a big fan of I Am Athlete. I wanted to be there for that. Because I am a big fan of them. And I'm a big fan of them because their style reminds me a lot of what we do here.
Right.
They break down a lot of the burning topics and a lot of football topics and all other sports topics, but they give it to you from a player's perspective kind of like we do here. We give it to you from myself and Baldy, from a coach's and player's perspective and a fan's perspective, where we also give you the business side, and then we tell you how things should be, and then we explain them to you so you better understand.
Right.
So we break things down for you, and I kind of feel like that's what they do. That's why partly why I'm a fan of them. But that was Thursday. Mm-hmm. Then, all in the midst of that, you know what we had. You see Frank has on his Phillies hat.
Yes,
I had on my Phillies hat last week.
Oh, man.
But in all the midst of that,
Ooh.
we had some baseball.
Yes.
This season, we got some playoff baseball. Got to give out some applause for the Phillies for that. Definitely wanted to give them some applause for that.
Yes.
And you have got to be engulfed in this.
Right.
And this story, when I break down this story to you about the Phillies and their next opponent, the Padres, in the National League Championship Series.
Scared of them boys.
This story, the way I break this story down, and I'm sure because I've been following, nobody has really broken it down like this as of yet.
Preach.
One or two people have hinted at it, but I'm going to give you the full storyline for the Phillies for this amazing season and this amazing run that they're on.
Oh, my goodness.
So, we know how the season started. Season got to a point where it was a little shaky. Had some issues with the former manager, Joe Girardi.
Yeah.
Was uncertain whether we were going to keep him, whether we were going to move on. Things got to a point where a change had to be made. Something had to be done to try and salvage the season.
Yes.
In comes the bench coach, Rob Thompson, on an interim basis initially.
Did a hell of a job.
Immediately, he gets these guys playing better. Whatever he did, knowing the guys, juggling the lineup the way that he did, whatever he says to these guys, they got it, they bought in, and they went on a hell of a run.
Yes, they did.
Got kind of tight down the stretch. Now, mind you, we're talking the wild card here, how the Phillies had to get in this year.
Yes.
Thank God for the expansion of the wild card system for the Major League Baseball.
Yes, thank God.
So, you look at the Phillies, the Brewers, who else? Padres. 3 teams that were fighting for those last 2 wild card spots in the National League. Phillies got to a point where they edged out the Padres, and with the suspension that the Padres had to their star player, it looked for a short time like the Padres were going to kind of fade away.
Right.
Because when the Phillies started to go a little bit back and forth, then the Padres started to fall a little bit.
Right.
But they stuck it out. They came in. And ultimately, it became Phillies, Padres,
Brewers
into the playoffs as the wild card teams. Right. Final 2 spots became up. It's the Phillies and the Padres. Look at how things work out.
Right.
Here's the storyline, folks. Remember I said Phillies, Padres, fighting tooth and nail. Just pretty much down to like the last out of the regular season. Not just like the last game or the last series, but damn near to like the last out of the regular season to get in.
Yes, sir. Preach, D.
Both teams get in. But look at what they did. And I'm not taking any shine away from the Phillies.
No.
But I just want to paint the picture for you for, like I said, the amazing story, the amazing run that the Phillies are on.
Yes, sir.
They didn't really edge the Padres. They got in behind the Padres. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Padres get past their wild card series. They get to the division series.
Right.
Who do they face? The mighty LA Dodgers. Team that won 111 games.
They're a bad draw,
Not really expected it to be what it was, but they oust the Dodgers.
Shocked me, though, D. Shocked me. I thought the Dodgers
a little shocker to me.
Yeah, I thought they was going to beat them.
I didn't think that the Padres had enough with the suspensions and the way that they had to play down the stretch
the bullpen
to really, and then go through the wild card to get to the Dodgers and then still have enough to beat the Dodgers. I didn't think they had enough. But apparently they did.
Right.
And then we look on the other side.
Phillies.
You flip that card over and you got the fighting Phils who people somewhat wrote off
Not me.
at some point.
Not me.
But Phils get in. Go to St. Louis, sweep the Cardinals, where people said that they probably wouldn't have won that series. They should be happy to get in the way they got in.
Wrong.
Proved everybody wrong. They go to St. Louis and they sweep the
Here
Cardinals.
come the world champs. Braves.
Bring on the Braves.
World champs.
Defending champions.
Yeah.
Number 2 overall seed in the National
I
League.
had them going in 5. Winning in 5.
What do?
Beat them in 4.
They go right to Atlanta. They take game 1.
Uh-huh.
They split. They lose game 2.
3-9.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
You come home on a split. My guy, Richard Drummond, thanks for tuning in as
They
always.
did their job.
They
Split.
did what they were supposed to do.
The
In
next
a 5-game series, you had to get one there.
Yeah.
They got the first one.
Yeah.
So, and you can look at the series and you can debate and you can talk.
Who's the better team?
And you can say,
Phillies.
starting out first game 1, game 2, you can start out and say, the way the Phillies won game 1, they carried that momentum, they punched them in the mouth. And then you turn around and you look back at game 2, they
shut
come
out.
back, they got shut out. You can say, oh, okay. Braves did what the champions are supposed to do. They took that punch. Richard says you always need to get a split to get home advantage back. Yes, indeed.
Right.
Then we come home.
You know what happened then, right?
Citizens Bank Park.
Rocking.
South Philly.
Rocking. Cheesesteaks flowing, everything.
Still riding the wave.
Yeah.
Even though there was a split, still riding the
I
wave.
feel like it was a game clincher, right?
Riding the wave.
Say it again.
And we end up ousting
Beating the next 2 games.
the Braves. 2 games at home. We take both of those games. We beat them.
Champagne
And
all
oust
in the
them
locker
out.
room and everything.
Phillies have had their share of champagne this season.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's enough. I think there's still
no,
some more coming. There's still some more waiting.
Right.
And just what I was getting to with the story is, ironically, now you have the 2 teams that battled each other
To get in that last
improbable seasons
Right.
now face each other for the right to go to the World Series. Doesn't get any better than that. You couldn't have written
A better
a
script.
TV. You couldn't have written a script for TV or anything for that.
Hold
Hold on 1 second. Let me see what Richard's chiming in. He says it was the loudest it's ever been from start to finish.
Right.
And he said Hoskins' mammoth home run that first game. Yes.
Right.
Yes, indeed. And look, Richard, they definitely have a chance to beat San Diego. I don't fear the Padres at all. I definitely do not fear the Padres. I think we can beat the Padres.
Right.
And I think
6,
I also think
maybe 7.
Rob Thompson is
He's fearless.
showing his mettle. He's showing his worth. Where the adjustments he made, and look at
Right.
what was always talked about the Phillies, and look at where they are now.
Right.
The bullpen. We had a couple starting pitchers
Right.
that would do things, but then a lot of times our defense would not back up and support the starting pitcher.
Losing runs.
Looking now, bullpen couldn't come in and keep games.
Yeah.
That's what the chance hit with Nola and Wheeler. They have been locked down. Yes. So you got Wheeler and you got Nola, or our 2 aces.
Right.
You can even in situations like he did start Noah Syndergaard.
Right.
But now you look at that bullpen and you look at how that bullpen has
They
improved.
got stronger, yeah.
It has shored up. It has gotten stronger. You look at the defense. The defense still has moments
Yeah.
when it's a little shaky.
Yeah. Got better.
But when you look at the other side, you look at the offense, you look at that lineup, they have the offense that can kind of make up
Right.
for some of those deficiencies on defense
Right.
when it's consistent. And they do have moments, and you saw it in both these series, the wild card series and the series against the Braves, the divisional series, where the defense looked, yeah.
Right.
He said Robbie put Syndergaard in through the order
Right.
2 times, and then bullpen came through. Absolutely. So they have what you need to get it done. And the way that they're playing right now, just like the commentators, Smoltz and the other guy, I forget his name, whatever,
Right.
they say, the Phillies right now, the way that they're playing, the way that their offense is playing when it's playing,
very scary.
the defense when it's together, the bullpen, now that it's together, if it's holding up,
Right. It can
Phillies are a team that nobody wants to see. We talk about the Phillies not being scared of the Padres. I think on the other side, the Phillies and the other teams, the Padres and the other teams should be scared of the Phillies right now. Yeah. Their offense can put up crooked numbers in innings, put up 4-7 runs easy. Yeah, absolutely. So we know that they have the tools, and we know, like I said, the Padres. I don't fear the Padres. Leaving Harper in that DH spot, him hitting home runs. Right, Rich. Nobody wants to see them right now. Nobody. So,
you know. Chime in real quick, Dave? Yeah, definitely. I got a manager real quick at my job today. In the beginning, I told him that the Cardinals, they don't fear the Cardinals. So I want to send a special shout out to the Phillies, myself personally. I predict them before the season started before they've been independent or whatever. So I feel as though they're going to go all the way to the World Series. I don't know if they're going to win it. When they get there, they're going to be fearless, whatever. So I want to send a special shout out to the Phillies, the organization, and Thompson for doing a hell of a job and getting these guys together and doing what they did. Right?
Absolutely. So we move on, and again, like I said, that is what we are. The Phillies are where it is. Yeah. That's one star of the weekend. Yeah. And then we move into yesterday. Mm-hmm. Boy, oh boy. The build-up for Dallas week, as usual. It's always, it is what it is. Rivalry. We know how it rolls out. We know the rivalry. We know the fan bases. And it's always a fight.
Right.
You look at this game yesterday, and you can break it down in a number of different ways. Before we get to that, that's right, Rich. Let's go Eagles. Before we get to that, let's. I'm just going to do. Nate, thanks for coming and tuning in. I'm going to run through these scores real quick from yesterday, and then we're going to get to talking some Eagles talk. All right. They're going back to Thursday, Week 6, Washington. Another I don't know what the hell is going on with these Thursday night football games, and then it's even worse because they got them exclusively on Amazon Prime.
Right, I have it in my app. I got it on my phone.
So it's crazy because these games, you're not making any money. I think they might have thought they were going to make some more money, some kind of way, putting the games on Amazon Prime, whatever. But the games that have been played have been horrible.
Yes.
Another snooze fest. Washington 12, Chicago 7. Another one. Exactly. It's almost to the point where I don't even look forward to Thursday football anymore. Rich, they have definitely been brutal. Nate says, they are trash. Moving into yesterday, the 49ers fall to the Falcons in the ATL 28-14.
I want to hear about that.
New England gets up on Cleveland 38-15.
Yeah.
Let's see. The Jets beat the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau 27-10. Jacksonville falls to Indianapolis 34-27. Minnesota gets by Miami 24-16. Mm-hmm. Baltimore falls to the Giants 24-20.
Right.
Tampa Bay goes into Pittsburgh and lays an egg and loses that game 20-18. Carolina and all their mess falls to the Rams 24-10.
They always beat them.
Seattle gets by Arizona at home 19-9. Mm-hmm. Buffalo, in a good one, gets by Kansas City in Arrowhead 24-20. And Dallas comes into South Philly and gets sent packing by the Philadelphia Eagles 26-17. Let's see. Yeah, so Richard says the Packers are missing Devontae Adams. Yes, and that definitely shows. The Carolina Panthers are just a mess. They are trying to move anybody that they can. You've already seen me post and you've heard they're fielding, listening to offers for Christian McCaffrey, which will probably take a ton to move to get him. They also have talked about Robbie Anderson, who was dismissed from the sideline yesterday. He's also in trade talks as well. Yeah. Like Richard said, Green Bay is sorely showing you how they are missing Devontae Adams, and it's not really a big story because the Raiders aren't doing anything as well. They were on a bye week this week. The Raiders aren't really doing anything, anyway. So you can't really, I guess, glorify the story, compare the stories because Green Bay's showing that they miss them. And it looks like the Raiders are showing that they can't or don't know how to properly use them. So it's kind of a lose situation for both teams or whatever. The Ravens are not the Ravens that we are accustomed to seeing, especially that defense. We saw Lamar make some crucial mental mistakes, errors yesterday that's uncharacteristic of him.
Right. They'd be all right. So
we'll see what happens with them. Like we said, Pittsburgh is a mess. I don't know. I think they just had to protect home and caught Tampa Bay somewhat looking past them.
They overrated.
Overrated. Yeah, that could be true, but I still think like at that particular game, that's one of those games where you kind of look past that team, and then they kind of get you, sneak up and bite you. The Rams still in that, in my opinion, that Super Bowl hangover. Their offense is just bad.
They're not even going to make the
Their offense is just bad. I don't know what the problem is in Arizona, and the Murray, the mental mistakes.
Almost too much.
The quarterback and the coach seem to be at each other's necks, not on the same page all the time, which causes problems.
Kingsbury.
So, like I said, the last 2 weeks, you look at the Eagles game, as the quarterback, he made that mental mistake and he slid too early thinking he had the first down. Then he got up and spiked the ball. And in a sense, you put your team in a position to tie when you could have put them in a position to win.
Right.
And then ultimately they miss that field goal and they lose that game. Mm-hmm. And then yesterday you scrambled attempting to make a play. You have to know certain things, and I understand the way the mind goes. Sabrina Harrington, thanks for tuning in. I understand the way the mind goes as far as athletes, but in these types of sports you have to have short-term memory. Football is just a little bit extended because it's like week to week. Sometimes it's short week, but you still have to have short-term memory where you can't think about, and this is what I'm thinking he was thinking on that play where he got the ball knocked out of his hand on that last scramble. He was thinking he made that mistake the week before. He's thinking, I can put us in a better position now, so I'm going to do a little bit more. When sometimes you kind of got to fight it out. You kind of got to let last week be last week. It's not the same opponent. It's not the same situation. And you kind of got to take what you can get and do it. Richard says, let's see. He says, Murray and the coach are arguing Kingsbury is a horrible coach. Yeah, he doesn't use his players and he puts them in. Yeah, like I don't understand. He doesn't put them in the best position possible. Yeah, like I said, I still don't get what was going on with Kyler Murray in that situation when he did that. So again, just recapping real quick, folks. Great Philly weekend.
Right.
Phillies into the National League Championship Series with a chance to fight and play for a chance to appear in the World Series this year.
Yes, sir.
Eagles remain the only unbeaten team in the NFL, 6-0 going into the bye week. And I'm hoping, and I'm guessing, I'm going to probably say a little bit more about this in a minute, that they ride this wave and get back to business because Pittsburgh is coming up, first game after the bye, which should be a couple games where the Eagles can actually get to about 8, maybe 9-0.
Maybe 10.
Possibly, maybe 10-0. We'll see, but they've got to come back off of the bye week with that same mind frame. Like, look, we had a bye week, we got rested. Let's just work on this week coming up. Week 7 is our bye week. We got to get healed up. We got to get Lane Johnson back. We got some other positions, guys that are banged up that can use this off week. So this will help us a lot. Nate, the best weekend in Philly for a long time. Again, that there, as I mentioned, the Phillies. Also, the Flyers unexpectedly went 2 straight over the weekend, which is great. They should be 10 easily. Not one team should be able to beat them. Yeah, I think they can get to that too, Rich. The Philadelphia Union are in the playoffs, and we got Sixers basketball tipping off tomorrow. So great time to be a Philly sports fan. And we got to just enjoy it.
Kicks off tomorrow.
And do what we do. So getting back to the Eagles game, like Richard mentioned, it was a tale of two halves. In the first half last night, you looked at that game, you looked at how it was played.
That was cruising.
And you look at the chess match, the game within the game. And in the very beginning,
not running the ball.
The Eagles did what the Cowboys and probably no one else expected them to do. There was the much lauded talk and chatter about Micah Parsons.
Yeah. He had a good game.
No issues with that.
Good game,
Give credit where credit is due.
Yeah.
Definitely a stud. Does things that
he better play better in the second
freakishly you would are unimaginable.
Yeah, he's good.
But what the Eagles did, if you didn't notice, what they did was they let Jalen Hurts read off of him.
Yeah.
He didn't get blocked a lot.
At all.
Lane Johnson, before he went out with an injury, had a pretty solid game against him. He wasn't really a factor, and a lot of people thought that they were just going to do the basic football knowledge and just run the ball at him. They didn't do it that way. They just read what he was doing because the Cowboys move him around so much and whatever. They were just watching where he was, seeing what he is, and they played off of what he did and how he reacted. Major success in doing that in the first half.
True. Second half is
Cowboys, they got good coaching in certain areas. I'm not sure about the head coach, but they got Dan Quinn, defensive coordinator. Good coach. Very good defensive coach.
Very good.
He did what he was supposed to do. He made the proper adjustments. He saw the injury, and he put Micah Parsons over on top of, he put him on top of Driscoll, who hasn't played consistently. Let's see. Richard says, all right, Nate says first, the Eagles in the second half concerns me. Good win, but we need to keep our foot on the gas in the second half. Yeah, Rich, well, Nate, you listening, we're going to talk about that right now. And Richard chimes in, he says, the first half, no RPO confusing Micah Parsons. Had to switch up, couldn't stop them, and they were running the ball and getting it to Brown. Absolutely. Then the second half comes.
Hurts was doing that.
And like I said, they made the adjustment. They moved Micah Parsons and kept him over top of Driscoll. He made a bigger impact than he did in the first half. He started to do the things that we expected him to do.
Right.
Hence, Cowboys got a little momentum.
Drifting away and
made the game close.
It did.
But then in the second half, with the things that the Eagles were allowed to do in the first half, again, another week showing me the improvements of the Eagles coaching staff, showing me the consistency now that this coaching staff and most of these players are in this system for the second consecutive year.
Right.
They went back to what they do.
Right.
They ran the ball.
Right.
That last drive, like they did against Arizona last week, they ran that ball. And then they ran it away from Micah Parsons. A couple times they ran it towards him.
Up a couple first downs.
And they started to do the things that they got back to somewhat
in the beginning of the season,
the beginning of that first half yesterday.
Exactly.
But they began to run the ball, which people know that they are a running team.
Right.
You saw the passes. It wasn't a great passing game, but they were meaningful passes to A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, his big three, and Devontae Smith. Meaningful passes.
Right.
And we knew what Dallas's defense was coming in.
Pass rush.
We knew what it was, and we took our shots. Not major shots, but we took what they gave us.
Right.
Jalen Hurts once again showed
use his legs.
His improvement in the cerebral aspects of the quarterbacking position. Zeddy, thanks for tuning in, homie. You see his growth where he's not pressed so much anymore. He's not so antsy to use his legs. He's going through his progressions. He's making the right decisions. Hell, like I said, I wanted to see Carson Wentz do more of, and he's picked it up in his third year. He's throwing the ball away more.
In the second year.
He's beginning to slide when he needs to slide. He's using his legs when he needs to. So he's picked up on a lot of things that Carson didn't fully pick up in year 5. Then Jalen Hurts is now in like year 3. Which is amazing. And it shows his dedication to the game and everything. Richard says Eagles stopped using the RPO in the second half, stopped running the ball, started with the fancy plays and exotic stuff instead of playing smash mouth football and running the ball. If you notice in the fourth quarter, yes, when they started to run the ball and did the short passes and got the ball to Brown and then finally near the end zone, the RPOs would hit Smith in the end zone. Understand why and gotten in the second half. Should have used the blitz once or twice. The D-line wasn't getting as much pressure as they were in the first half. Gannon doesn't ever blitz. Yeah, I think Gannon should blitz more. I do. And I posted this. I didn't mention it earlier, and I didn't even get to most of my news and stuff, but we had a lot of stuff to get to today. It's a great weekend. I also mentioned that the Eagles have, if you didn't see my post, they have signed Vic Fangio as a consultant. As a consultant in a way. So a lot of people initially speculated that if it doesn't work out with Gannon, then they'll just slide Vic Fangio in there. But he's very good. But you can use his help right now, and I think him being here will help Jonathan Gannon.
I didn't know that.
I think, like Richard said, I also believe that Gannon should blitz a little bit more.
Fangio blitzes,
but I think they need to be calculated blitzes.
Fangio blitzes.
All in all, the defense I think was solid yesterday.
First half, second
we
half.
all know in games like this, teams will
adjust.
Majority of the time make it interesting. It's very rare that these types of division rivalries are blowouts.
Right. They know each other so much.
It's usually either very high scoring on both sides or it's
low scoring
on both sides.
Right.
And it's like you said, these teams know each other. They see each other twice a year, every year.
Yeah, they know each other.
They know each other.
Can't hide.
And and you get accustomed to some of the things they do, some of the things you see, you pick up on, and things of that nature. But it was great to get that win last night. Again, improving to 6-0.
Right.
A lot of people are now completely on notice. It's been growing. A lot of people are now completely on notice. A lot of people now are recognizing and acknowledging more the progress and the growth of Jalen Hurts, which I think is a good thing. Nate says, yeah, we should blitz more, especially when we had the concerns and safeties that we have. Well, I don't think that injury to CJ is going to be anything severe. Like we said, going into the bye week, that's going to help him. I do think we need another safety. Epps has just been playing good, but that's also in part to the play of the two corners that we have. Again, I called the Dallas would score 17 points, and I thought Philly would get into the 20s. Yeah. So, yeah, like you said, Nate, yeah, you do still need another I still think you do need another safety there. But like I said, Epps is playing well right now, and I think that's due to the supporting cast there. CJ, like I said, CJ's injury, he showed he came back in that game, so this rest on this off week will do him some good. And again, I think it showed yesterday. You heard about it through 5 weeks. You saw some things in a couple of games between Darius Slay and James Bradbury. But you saw it on like full display yesterday how good these two cornerbacks are. And when they play together. It's definitely good to see that. That's something that we haven't seen in that position in a long time. Right. And again, like I said, I've mentioned in the last couple of years we needed to improve our linebacker play. T.J. Edwards has shown his growth. Hell of a pickup of Kaiser White. And in the background, in the shadows, you still got Nakobe Dean.
Right.
Jordan Davis, top draft pick this year, started the game, is going to be a stud.
Right.
They had to end up going to double teaming him.
How about they got Brown?
When they had, that's when they started. When they started doing the double team blocks, because they were getting to him. They were getting a little bit of pressure, not as much as they wanted to.
Right.
But you got enough where you threw the timing on. Like, hence, you got 3 interceptions. The one that Darius Slay read and jumped that route and picked that. The one that got picked by the first one that CJ picked on the tip of the defense of James Bradbury on that tip. And then the second one just got the hit by Brandon Graham late, which he normally does, which he usually does, come up with a key play late in games. He got that hit on Cooper Rush, threw that pass off. CJ, as the safety, played it, picked that off for the third interception. And then the Eagles took that down and drove and scored. The two cornerbacks, like we said, are playing like studs right now. And it's going to be difficult to throw the ball at these guys. And the way that they're playing right now, teams are going to think heavily about attacking them, and they're going to think heavily and probably switch up some strategies on how they attempt to attack these corners, because the Eagles now have two. You can stretch a little bit right now. I'm going to say two lockdown corners who have been playing like that all season long so far. Richard says Kazir White is all around the field. Davis was double teamed, meaning other guys have to step up and get pressure if he's being double teamed. Yeah, I think that was his first time actually starting in that starting rotation. So I think they'll work that out. Like I said, I'm sure he'll watch tape, and I'm sure they'll watch tape in this off week and come back and get that together. I think the toughest thing for them preparing, and I'm glad that they have a week off, will be preparing for Pittsburgh. And then, like right now, you honestly don't know what quarterback to prepare for. You can very easily right now say that the Kenny Pickett era has begun, and you'll be looking at Kenny Pickett.
What's up, Wes?
But you can't be 100% certain. And, you're coming off a week of rest, riding the waves that you've been riding, which is good for the Eagles. And Pittsburgh is still playing. So they'll be, a little tight, a little under the weather, whatever, if you want to call it. So I think the Eagles can take that game coming off the bye week. And it's still a hell of a lot of football to play, folks.
Yes,
but you've got to, of course Frank is saying that now with the way the 49ers are.
Oh, no.
To be brutally honest, people, I'm loving what's going on right now, but I'm also a realist, and like I just said, was getting ready to say, there's still a hell of a lot of football left to play.
Yeah.
The Eagles are just in a very, very great position right now. And if they can hold up the way they have been, not barring any serious injuries, and like you said, the backups have been playing okay. Nate says, I don't want to jinx us right now, but looking at the schedule after the bye week, I don't see why we can't get that first round bye play. Yeah, I think it can happen as well, Nate. I think it can happen.
Maybe.
But still, we can sit here and say what we speculate. We can look at the schedule and all of that. We just have to hope that the Eagles can stay the tide. Do what you've been doing consistently up until this point. And don't take anyone for granted. Go into any game, every game in the remainder of the season like you can be beat. Like you can be beat any week.
It was a week-to-week league.
And don't look past anyone. Just stay focused on the game plan at hand. Do what you need to do and focus on the team that's coming right up in front of you in the next couple of game days or weeks or whatever. That game that's very, very next game. So I think that's how they should look at it, and I think they'll be fine. But again, yes, a lot of one game at a time. Yes, a lot of football left to play. But again, like I said, they've put themselves in a very, very, very good position.
You gotta stay healthy too.
A very, very good position to be in right now. But now you have the target on your back.
Right.
So everybody that you play from here on out
play your heart.
is bringing their A++ game.
Absolutely.
And that means you have to be A++ in the chess game as far as the coaching staff.
Chess, not checkers.
And you have to be very, very precise and execute.
Exactly.
And definitively execute what you need to execute on the offense and defensive sides of the ball as far as the players. Folks, it is now 11:36. We will take our first break. When we come back,
Talk some basketball.
we are going to get into some NBA stuff.
Yes, sir.
Sixers tip off.
Season starts
tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
NBA season kicks off tomorrow and then continues with a plethora of games on Wednesday.
Oh, a lot of games.
I will give you that Wednesday schedule.
Yes, sir.
And we'll talk some Sixers and we're going to talk some NBA, folks. You are tuned in to SportsRap right here on Heat 100 Radio. I will see you on the other side in just a couple seconds.
You heard SportsRap D. We're going to take a little break. We're going to come back talk about some NBA.
Welcome back to the second half of the SportsRap podcast right here on Heat 100 Radio. Before we get into our NBA segment real quick, folks, just a couple quick announcements, couple things I wanted to talk about real quick. Shout outs to Deontay Wilder, wins his fight over the weekend, first round KO. There was talk about, let's see, the Draymond Green and Jordan Poole episode. Hence, they turn around, the Warriors do, they turn around and Jordan Poole and them agree on a 4-year, $140 million extension. Right. They also agree on a 4-year, $109 million extension with Andrew Wiggins. They decided to fine Draymond Green and not suspend him. Right. So we'll definitely keep our eyes to the story and see how that plays out. He has taken some time away from the team. We'll see what happens with that. One of the things I think I'm going to save until next week, because I'm sure I'm going to get more on it. There are rumors out that Dan Snyder is claiming to have dirt on some other owners and Roger Goodell that could blow up Roger Goodell and the league. I'm not too sure about that. I got to do a little bit more research on that. I think he could just be blowing smoke because there is an issue with him and the owners do not want to help him with the new stadium. So there's a lot of flack with Dan Snyder continually going on as we see. Two saddening stories since we're getting ready to begin our NBA talk. Former NBA great Dikembe Mutombo is suffering and managing with a brain tumor, and Nate Robinson has revealed kidney failure. Oh wow! So prayers and blessings out to those guys for those issues that they are dealing with right now. So moving on, again, another story that's probably going to have you people laughing. It's going to take you probably to a different place. Yes, rich prayers out to both of those guys, yes. Another woman has filed a claim against Deshaun Watson. How many people this Deshaun Watson thing is getting out of hand, to be a ridiculous kind of story. And now, I don't think that these women are lying. Like, I didn't think that these women were lying from the very beginning. But from the very beginning, I felt like that there might be a little bit of an exaggeration going on because it was so many women. But now, with this most recent one, how many are there now? It's up to like 25 or 26 now. Like I said, he settled some cases. So it's always, to me, when you settle cases, you had something. You had a hand in it. You probably, like I said, we'll probably never know exactly what happened, but you had a hand in it. But this most recent lawsuit, and this was filed last week, was filed Thursday, against Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson in Texas.
Oh, wow. We're scared to go down there.
So, it's funny, this story, because, like I just said, this lawsuit was filed against him in Texas. Right. He's no longer in Texas. The lawsuit states that, and I quote, he attempted to solicit sexually related acts with the plaintiffs, including intercourse, end quote. Wow. Oh, wow. So, like I said, sex for money. In the beginning, I felt like he did something. Didn't think it was this far, but I felt like he did something. It also goes on to say that this is less than 2 months after the NFL and the NFL Players Association agreed to suspend him for 11 games and fine him $5 million for reported sexual misconduct. Leads you to believe that there was more to the story from the very beginning than what we were told. Right. Hence, there was also a reason, if you remember, that some of these women were questioned and asked to retract their statements. Right. A lot of them did, and some of them did not. The plaintiff was contacted via direct message on Instagram, according to the petition, and the two met for a massage at the Houstonian Hotel, Club, and Spa. During the message, the filing reads, and I quote, Watson removed his towel and offered to let her get on top. The plaintiff refused to have sex with Watson. However, he was able to pressure her into oral sex with the defendant. He paid her $300 when her hourly massage rate was normally $115. So for him, he thinks he's doing something because her normal rate was $115, and he paid her $100. He paid her $300. So he basically more than doubled, what she was supposed to get.
He worked millions, so.
But
that's nothing to him.
This new situation again, and like I mentioned before, when he was going to be suspended, in the time frame he was going to be suspended, and the way that the season is going for the Browns right now,
terrible.
This new issue, what does this mean for him? What does this mean for the Cleveland Browns moving forward? Especially more so for him moving forward, because this is like becoming a serial issue with him. Like, dude, you just got suspended 11 games. You got fined $5 million. And
that extra stuff on the cake.
And now you right back at it again. I don't get it. I don't understand it. But who am I? Hopefully he can get his act together and get some things clearer in his head and understand what's going on in life and what's going on around him and how he is affecting his life and his livelihood in a major, major way.
Stupid.
So, before we do that, it means nothing right now. This will happen next year. Yeah, absolutely, Rich. Before we do get into this NBA talk, matter of fact, nope, we're going to say that.
Okay.
We're going to say that that's going to be our closeout.
Right.
Our schedules for today, tomorrow, and then our NFL schedule for Week 7. Of course, we got one more game tonight to close out the NFL schedule. So,
NBA talk.
We move on and we get to our NBA talk.
Season?
Yeah, NBA talk is coming. Season starts tomorrow. Yeah. One last announcement, folks, before we get to that point. If you didn't see it, I posted it yesterday. Shout outs to the boss lady, Simply Monica, for posting and adding me in. I definitely appreciate the gesture, and I'm here for whatever you need and whatever we need here at the station up here on this end, the north end. So if you have a voice, you want to speak your mind, if you will. You got some topics you want to talk about. You got some things you want to talk about. You have a business that you want to share with more than your people you're sharing it with now. You want to go worldwide because we are internet radio. Listen, we are here for you. You can join the Heat 100 radio team. Please, serious inquiries only. And you will get full training. We'll show you everything that you need to show. We will help you with your content creating, your interview skill set, your marketing and promotions. Contact me, myself, and I, Dwayne Gaines. SportsRap Podcast, the LLC is the group page. You can contact me there. You know where to get me on Instagram and Twitter at SportsRap_D. You can shoot me a message there, or you can shoot me a message right here on Facebook. You can also hit up Monica Mason on Facebook at Simply Monica72 on Instagram, or Heat100Radio at gmail.com, or Heat100Radio on Instagram and Facebook, and we can get you squared away and talk to you about that. And hopefully, like we said, if you've seen our party, we're still riding the wave of our 8-year celebration that we celebrated at LB's Lounge. Fish fry was there. It was crazy. You know what we do. We always come 100. We had the fish fry to just celebrate ourselves and our fans and our people that support us for 8 years. And we also had a little artist showcase. So we give back in any way that we can. Shout outs for having us there. Our partners are hopefully our new partners, LB's Lounge right on 5th Street. So stay tuned for that, and like I said, get at me or Simply Monica. We can get you started, get you trained up, and get you in this seat where I'm sitting at right now. So, NBA talk. Room is a little split right now. So it's kind of a 50-50 split. Usually the three-headed monster, Frank, is outnumbered when it comes to basketball season. Baldy and myself are Sixers fans. Shout out to Baldy, who couldn't be here with us this morning.
What's up, Ball?
Frank is the lone, solely Lakers fan. Yeah. Well, him and Baldy's cousin, Damani. So, we give them the business most of the time. Baby. We've been fortunate enough to be able to give them the business for the last couple years. Coach Robert Reeves, thanks for tuning in. So, the last couple years, we've been fortunate enough to be able to give them the business. But it is what it is. Basketball season is starting. For me, it is my favorite sport, number one favorite sport, is my best time of the year.
Right.
And it's also great for me right now because we got football and we got basketball, which is usually always a good time for me.
Yeah.
But even though we got that, and now
Back
that
in the
we're
day,
in
it was
Philly,
for me.
we got the three. We got some baseball mixed in here too. So it's Red October. We got some baseball mixed in too. So it's crazy here in Philly. So getting into
purple and gold, baby.
The NBA talk.
Got the world
a lot of people have the Philadelphia 76ers in a good run this year. I just saw something this morning that one media outlet has pegged the Sixers as the world champions and Joel Embiid finally eclipsing Nikola Jokic and winning the MVP.
All 1 year?
I'd love to see that happen.
No, it's gonna happen.
It could happen.
Yeah.
It could happen.
I'd
I'd
like
to
to
see
be,
that.
I'm not
I would love
so?
to see that happen.
Get the MVP and get the chip in 1 year?
Yeah, Nate says he has an interesting question. So, let's answer this question for Nate.
Who did that?
What do y'all feel about all football teams taking their bye weeks at one time around week 8 or week 9?
That'd be good. It's not gonna
No.
happen. Why?
I don't like it, and in a second I'm going to let Frank let you all know why he says he might like it.
I love it.
I don't like the thought
I love it.
of that idea because
everybody get the same week
off. It would put a hindrance
on the team that had a lot of injuries.
It would put a hindrance on the NFL in a lot of different ways.
Money wise.
One way it would be the money wise,
right.
Because of the ratings.
Right.
People have gotten accustomed to having that bye week and still being able to see some type of football, whether their team is playing or not.
Facts.
Once football starts,
right.
you waited for it so long that you want it constantly. And like we say, even though they do have the Thursday games, you have that Monday night football, but for the most part, football is your weekend, Sunday, Monday. You know, and then it's like the 3 or 4 days in between, and you get that Thursday game. Right. And then later on in the season, you know, you get those Saturday games here and there. But that's just late in the season, you know, because of the way the season. Yeah, because of the time of year and the way things have to be played out. That's how they do that.
Money.
That's one reason. Again, that's two reasons I said that with the money thing, the ratings, as far as the TV and stuff like that for the NFL. Also, again, I think it would put them in a hard spot. I think it would hinder some of the teams if everyone goes on a bye at the same time,
right?
Because in some ways it would hinder some teams that could be riding the momentum,
right?
Teams, it could also help teams that are banged up, could get some help, but I just don't think to just completely stop the product teams. Even for 1 week. You stop the whole league. I don't think that's feasible.
Like a week strike.
For I just don't think that's feasible.
I take that back.
For the league. So now Frank is retracting his statement.
Because it's money. It's about the money. You're right. I have no problem doing that, D. If I'm wrong,
it's not all about the money, but I know the money is a part of it. I can't even say if the money would be a big part of it.
Right.
Robert says, yes, that was a good question. Yes, I agree. It was a great question.
It was a great question.
But Robert Reeves also says, he definitely agrees with me.
Right.
He don't want to go a week without seeing football. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. It's like you have...
You just have college football.
Well, but you only get college football for 1 day, really.
Yeah.
Like you might get a game Thursday. You might get a game Friday. But you got Saturday. And again, like you said, you don't have no more of that until the following Saturday.
Right.
Right. And like I said, I think it would just be a bit much just to stop the entire product
of 32 teams
for a whole week, for just one, even if it's just for 1 week.
Yeah, it's hungry. We're fans. You love the game so much.
Like I said, you love the game so much.
Yeah.
And
1 week could be like
the scheduling, because of the nature of the sport. Yeah. Let's see. So Nate, after the question, again, Nate, great question. I appreciate your input and everything.
Yeah, that's awesome.
He says, with that said, let's do half the teams 1 week and the second half the next week. Now, there's a thought. Maybe there where so good stuff, Nate. There's a thought, and just right off the top of my head,
right,
I feel like that could possibly work better than everybody having the same bye week.
mm-hmm.
But also, again,
Mm-hmm.
with the amount of teams,
Mm-hmm.
you have 2 weeks where there would be no football at all.
Facts. 2 weeks.
2 weeks now where there would be no football at all.
Right.
Well, no, not that, but no, you had half the teams,
Yeah.
and then you had the other half. So it wouldn't be 2 weeks with no football at all.
1 week.
It wouldn't even be 1 week with no football. It would be 1 week with just the bye. Half the team would have a bye, and then another week. Yeah, so it would be 2 bye weeks throughout the entire season,
right.
and one half would have, one half, and then the other half. I mean,
I don't know. Would that work?
That
maybe
that could possibly work, but with that half and half, you have to take into consideration. Richard says a week off for all teams is ridiculous. With the half and half, you also have to take into consideration the way the scheduling was. It would take, it would take some major adjusting to the schedule, especially the way most recently in most recent years, the way a lot of schedules have been played out, where crucial games are going to be played down the stretch.
At the end, yeah. Like
and let's just say
17.
the way the NFC East is going right now, things kind of stay the way they are, or close to where they are right now.
NFC West too.
And you get those games, those division games on the back end. And as of right now, you don't really know where you would put those 2 bye weeks. So let's just say one of those bye weeks comes later in the season, and the teams that are making the push for the playoffs that might need to get some rest and get some health issues squared away could possibly be in that week there. But then it may not be every team in the division. So it might be like the 2 top teams in the division. And then always at some point, somebody in the division can play spoiler. And it may not be to knock you out, but it may be to move your positioning as far as going into the playoffs. Nate responds to Richard. He says, I get that. Just thought about it. That's why I rephrased the question. Yeah. So it could pose a problem there, because you could have a team that's building momentum going in, already had their bye, and you got another team that hasn't had their bye.
Right.
And they could be struggling. So I don't know. It would take a lot.
Right.
I think the sound and maybe the thought of half 1 week and half another week could be discussed.
Right.
But again, Nate, it would take a hell of a lot of jostling in the scheduling to figure out how you could get that done. And I think with the way that they do it now, when they start the bye, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. You usually have 4 teams that are off, so you really only miss 2 games. Starting with the byes throughout the season, you only miss 2 games every week. So you basically still get your full complement of football without any interruptions, except for if that's a week, that your team doesn't play. But you can get by that because, like I said, even when your team doesn't play, you still have football to watch.
Right.
Whether your team is playing or not.
Right.
So yeah, Nate, that's a thought. I'm sure if it were brought to the table, it would be discussed.
Right.
But again, it would take a lot to get to that. So
back to basketball.
Yeah. Frank asked me a couple things before we came on. We're gonna get into our Sixers stuff, and I'll talk to you about the additions and the subtractions and some of the jostling issues, some of the jostlings that were made with the Sixers roster, the fine tuning of the Sixers roster this year, in just a second. But overall, I like the Sixers in my top 5 in the East. No specific order for me right now because, like I said, I've seen some preseason, not all teams in preseason. My top 5, and again, like I said, this is not my specific order. This is just me running my top 5 off the top of my head. Before the season even starts. I would put the Sixers in that top 5. Put Miami in that top 5.
Definitely Miami.
Milwaukee in that top 5.
Cleveland.
So for me, that's 3. So that's Sixers, Bucks.
I like the Cavaliers.
Heat.
Not New York. They're not ready yet. They're overrated.
I
like Cleveland.
I think I could put Cleveland
They're going to be
on the bubble for me. In there, I would put them right on a bubble.
They're going to be a lot of teams. They're going to be in my pool this year.
Yeah, Tobias Harris is not going to take a pay cut, Nate. We all wish he would have done that.
Toronto's shaky. They're shaky.
I'm looking. I can't, honestly, right now, I can't put Brooklyn in there. Oh, I forgot. That's right. The Celtics. I forgot the Celtics.
The Celtics, yeah.
And I put the Celtics in there because of the respect factor, because of their run last year.
Yeah.
I still have some questions about their situation and their changing the coaches.
Right.
Richard reminded me of that. Richard says he could put in his top 5 Sixers, Miami, Bucks, Celtics, and the Cavs. Yeah, absolutely. I could see that. And like I said, if the only team that I would say that I had an order would be the Cleveland would be towards that bottom half of the 5, only because of their youth. I do understand that they did make a major move, and get Spider from Utah, but
he's a true.
Most of their power, most of their punch, is from the guard position and their young players.
Yeah, they got young ladies.
And even with their bigs, like Jared Allen is a big, but he poses really no threat. Evan Mobley, once he gets healthy, could become a threat, but again, still young as far as NBA game. And he's coming off of an injury. So like I said, I could put Cleveland in there, but if, like I said, they're probably the only team that I could say a number 2 would be somewhere 4 or 5 for me, and then I would have to play around with the rest of the 4 or the rest of the 3 to get it in order.
They're my surprise team this year.
But again, like with the Boston thing, who the Sixers open up against tomorrow night. Let's see. Richard chimes in. He says the Nets will implode. Durant will get hurt. Irving will say or do something stupid. And Ben, his back will be sore and can't go. Absolutely. We're going to talk about that in a second, Richard.
Ben might play.
But again, like talking about Boston, I'm just uncertain about the coaching change and how and when it happened.
Right.
Like, you start in training camp, and then this comes up. Now this dude is just suspended for the year. And you put this other guy, the interim coach, in, where they've been saying that he's going to use basically the same system. Yeah, but we all know it's going to be a shell.
It's going to be a new system.
Of that system.
Yeah.
The basics of that system will probably be there, but there are going to be some intricacies that are going to be changed because it's a new coach and he's going to want to make it his own.
Yeah, that's every coach.
Yeah, so that's a given. So that's where I feel like it's a little shaky for Boston starting out the season.
Good, yeah.
They also have some injuries. I don't think Robert Williams is going to be playing tomorrow night. He's coming off of an injury. So
Brown, Tatum, they're going to be there.
You know, I don't know. I think we can get them. We can get them.
I'm not betting on that
because the additions.
I'm scared of that game.
The additions that we made.
Is Harden in shape? He says he's in shape now.
Yeah, I saw him at the blue and white scrimmage. He's in shape. He lost the weight. You can visibly see it. So I think the Sixers can get them.
I like Maxey.
Yeah, like, you know, people are going to bring me to this situation like Richard just did and Nate just did. He says Ben Simmons fouled out of a game where he played 12 minutes. Yeah. He is and always will be a joke. And I'm just saying, yeah. And Richard also said coaches still are different, and he's not the same coach. Absolutely. Just touching real quick before we get a little bit more into the Sixers talk on that situation with Brooklyn. I kind of agree with Richard when he said Kevin Durant will get hurt. Kyrie will do or say something stupid down the stretch.
Right.
And then Ben will go into he's like a turtle. He'll dip back into his shell and do what he does.
They say he might play more.
The issues with me and him are the fact that he has not changed anything. I watched him when they played against the Sixers in preseason. I watched another game with them in the preseason, and he hasn't improved anything. He's still the same player that he was coming into the league. In transition, hella talented because of his size and his skill set, things he can do. But the problem becomes with them in that half-court set. The problem becomes he needs to be the setup man. Right. And the two stars that you have,
that's their job,
don't need to be set up.
Right.
They basically need the ball in their hands.
Right. Kyrie, especially Kyrie.
So it's going to be tough, and I'm guessing
it's only one ball.
That somehow, some way, Steve Nash is going to possibly try to keep at least one of them on the court with Ben Simmons the majority of the time. Still, I think it's going to be tough because if you only have one of them, you're uncertain about the health of Joe Harris. And when you look at that roster, even with Royce O'Neal coming in, you re-sign Patty Mills, these guys are like managers. They're not holders, but they're like managers. They're not going to come in and take over a game for you. They're going to come and manage a game, possibly, if you're getting blown out, possibly get you a little closer and make it a less of a job for the starters when the starters get back in. But when you look at that Brooklyn roster, you look at the two dogs, KD, Kyrie, and like Richard said, it's a fact. It's happened every year for the last several years. Even when he was in Golden State, he gets hurt every year. Kevin Durant, he gets hurt all the time. He gets hurt every year. And then Kyrie, like he said, will always do something or say something that will hinder his playing time. He's already put it out there why he didn't get the extension because he didn't want to play in back-to-back. So you're already trying to demand and tell the team going in that you basically only want to play half the games. Right. Not going to fly very well.
That's why they don't get a big contract.
That's a whole different story, and that's not our problem. But we talking about it, so let's talk about it. I don't fear anyone after those two.
Right.
And the other issue I have with Ben Simmons now is what drastically changed your mind frame, because now you're telling people, oh, you can't wait to get back and play against the Sixers. You didn't talk to Joe. Beginning of all this, you had such a big issue where you couldn't come into the building. It was so stressful.
Right.
The team did you wrong and this, that, and the third. Sure. But now it's like, oh, I'm itching to get back in there. So I think he's full of crap. In that right,
Kyrie?
Ben Simmons. I think he's full of crap in that right. I think he was full of crap on J.J. Redick's podcast when J.J. Redick asked him about certain things. So we'll see what happens.
Right.
Again, another issue I have with the makeup of that team is what will he do when they have moments when they want to go small ball and he ends up playing the 5? You do that against the Sixers, Joel Embiid will beat you-know-what down your leg. No disrespect. I'm just calling a spade a spade. Mm-hmm. You say you can guard every team, and I give you that. You are a hell of a defensive player. Right. But there's no way with his skill set that you will guard Joel Embiid consistently
and he don't like me.
in a full game. It won't happen. You will not win in that situation.
You'll be a foul.
The other issues I have is what do you do in the half-court offense? Do you really put him in the dunker spot? It's questionable.
Okay.
Questionable to put him in that dunker spot because of his length and MO with being willing to shoot the ball.
He can't shoot.
Where do you hide him? When you have him on the court with those other two guys,
transition.
Yeah, Rich, I don't think it's going to happen either.
He's good in transition.
Arguably can say we can double one of those guys, but you got the other one still.
Hard.
So he's like faded off. He's out the picture. What do you do when he's on the court and neither one of those guys are on the court? If it happens that way, if they can't figure it out and it happens that way, where does your scoring come from? It's a big puzzle that has to be figured out. You know, it's a big equation that has to be figured out for Brooklyn. I don't know how they're going to get through it. Mm-hmm. The last issue I have about Brooklyn is what happens when Kyrie and KD get frustrated with Ben not performing to the level which they feel like he can perform to.
They already did it already.
What happens then?
It's going to be a blowout.
We don't know. So, you know, like Richard said, I think it's a possibility, potential for an implosion there. There's also been talk from the very beginning that there could possibly be even talks about a trade of moving Ben Simmons.
Again?
But, again, with that roster, you look at, like I said, they made some minimal moves. You brought in Royce O'Neal. You re-signed Patty Mills and other that. You re-signed Nick Claxton.
I like Patty Mills.
But we showed, and we've seen it. Nick Claxton can do nothing with Joel Embiid. You don't know the absolute health of Joe Harris. And again, like I said, after you get past these couple of names, it's not much there left to be dealt with on Brooklyn. So to me, I'm not scared of Brooklyn. They don't scare me. Just the way they didn't scare me when they were pegged to be the cream of the crop, and they ended up going into the play-in tournament and then getting swept by the ultimate finals runner-up Boston Celtics in the playoffs. Didn't impress me. And Ben, if you have such a change of heart right now, you're happy to go into playing with Brooklyn and all this stuff. Why did you not come back in the playoffs when your team needed you to come back and play? They asked you, could you play? But no, your back was still hurt. You couldn't play. But now all of a sudden you're right in shape in training camp and you're happy. Whatever. I told you again, I think he's full of crap. And again, like Frank just said, we'll see what happens. But again, I don't fear them at all. Okay. Moving on to our Philadelphia 76ers. Roster has shaped up. They brought in Skylar Mays. They made some moves. They sent some people down to or they will be probably sending some people down to the G League to fill out that Blue Coast roster. Shout outs to them too. Sixers season starts tomorrow. I think in November. I don't have the exact date, but I will get it to you. Shout outs to the Delaware Blue Coast as well, the G League affiliate of your Philadelphia 76ers. And shout outs to my guy, Joe Richmond, the ambassador of basketball for the Delaware Blue Coast, who's always out in the community, always working. Definite gym rat. But aside from that, genuine dude. Genuine dude. If you don't know him, get down there to the Delaware, to the Chase Fieldhouse and get to know him. You will enjoy his company, and he will make you smile. He'll definitely put a smile on your face. But I will get all that information on the start of that season, the actual opening date, and how you can get your tickets to some Delaware Blue Coast. Like I said, it's a short drive, like 45 minutes down I-95.
20 minutes from the airport.
Yeah, 45 minutes down I-95, right in Wilmington, Delaware. Okay. You can get there and check it out. It's a family fun atmosphere, family event. But the team is usually good. Coming off 2 runs to the G League Finals. We didn't get over the hump, but we got there 2 years in a row. So expecting big things, looking for big things coming this year as well. So with the Sixers, we know how last season ended. Mm-hmm. We knew how the players felt, especially one Joel Embiid, stressing that we needed to get tougher. Miami just bullied us, pretty much. So we got tougher. Starting out, with the draft, they had the 1 pick. They drafted David Roddy, who was ultimately traded to Memphis with Danny Green for another pick somewhere down the line and for wing player DeAnthony Melton. Right. Initially, a lot of people had Danny Green as a fan favorite. I also did have Danny Green as a fan favorite, but I understood the business side of that move. Right. He sustained a major injury. He was arguably not going to play for us at all this season on a $10 million contract, so it was best business-wise to move that contract. Right. No hard feelings, no disrespect, any of that nature, but it was just a business decision, and like we said, we know that he wasn't going to play, and there's a very good chance that he will not play at all this year for Memphis as well.
Right.
Also in free agency, they bring in P.J. Tucker, one of the guys that Joel mentioned and talked about in the offseason. They steal him. They poach him from Miami. They also bring in Daniel House, another Houston guy. And people have been talking this Houston stuff because they played together. P.J. Tucker, Daniel House, and James Harden all played together on Houston under Daryl Morey. So it's a reuniting. Different situation, different teams. But it helps as far as basketball-wise because now you have pieces coming into the mix that won't take a long time to get in cohesion with your star player. James Harden's going to bring them along, and then they'll all get in tune. And from what I've seen in the preseason, I've seen that they are pretty much in tune. I love the fact that they got together early before training camp officially started, and we're in the gym together, doing some things and working on some things together. They also bring in Montrezl Harrell, who was the sixth man of the year under Doc Rivers. Yeah. Somewhat of a traveling player, but he has been showing me in preseason that this could possibly turn out to be a good move. Very, very solid, very good offensive rebound grabber. And he also brings that toughness right now. The key losses, again, like we said, were Danny Green. And some of these losses are due to the Ben Simmons trade. It was DeAndre Jordan, Paul Millsap, Andre Drummond, Seth Curry, Ben Simmons, all in the trade. That
hurts a little bit.
Vegas is predicting the Sixers at 50 wins. I think they can get a little bit more. I think they can get about 52, 53 wins.
55, yeah.
Because, like we said, you got Embiid and Harden who are together for the entire training camp. Yeah. And the new pieces have come at the very beginning of training camp. So they've had time to get all together and get in sync. And they've played some preseason games together. So, again, preseason doesn't mean much. You look at how you're going to – you look at what your guys, what your starters can work on. You work on their chemistry, and then you work on filling out your roster with the other guys. So the Sixers were 4-0 in the preseason. Beat Cleveland twice, and we both, all of us, myself, Frank, and a couple of our followers have Cleveland in our top 5. So those were good wins, although it was preseason, but those were good wins. They also beat Charlotte, and then they also beat Brooklyn. And they beat Brooklyn handily without Joel Embiid and James Harden in that first game. Kevin Durant and Kyrie played, and I think Ben Simmons also played. So they did play. But like that, it was preseason. It is what it is. Schemes and everything are going to change during the regular season. But we showed them that there's no fear there. Looking at the Sixers depth chart with the new additions, again, before we get into that, they did make some moves. They waived Isaiah Joe and Charles Bassey. The Isaiah Joe issue was because of the money thing, so they got a little bit more flexibility for roster moves that they could make, and they pulls them under that tax apron. Richard says P.J. Tucker is going to be that tough guy that will do the dirty work, and Embiid has finally Embiid has finally a backup too. Maxey will be an all-star, no question. He looks even better this year. Yeah.
I like Maxey.
Worst case scenario, Rich, I think Maxey is going to be talked about for most improved. I felt like he should have been talked about most improved the past season. But especially in the preseason, he's put people on notice of how he intends to, what his approach is and how he intends to approach the progression of his career.
Yeah, he can take over the game. I like him.
So with your depth chart, and this is easily going to be like probably situation because both of these guys can handle the ball. So initial depth chart at the point guard, we're going to go 1, 2, 3 and fill in where we need to fill in. You have Maxey, Melton, and then Shake Milton. At the shooting guard, you got Harden, Korkmaz. They had Isaiah Joe pegged there, but I'm sure that'll change, and we'll figure that out as the season goes along. Small forward, you got Harris, Thibault, and Daniel House. Power forward, P.J. Tucker, George Niang. And then at the center spot, you got Embiid, Harrell, and Paul Reed. A lot of people talked about Matisse Thybulle. I think Matisse Thybulle has worked on his game. He showed me that. Not arguably where a lot more Sixers fans want it to be, but he has showed me that he's a little bit more confident in shooting that wing three if he's wide open and it kicks to him. He showed me that in the preseason that he hasn't hesitated to shoot it. It's like a catch and shoot for him. So he has worked on that. Like I said, he's still got a long way to go.
Right.
So he gives you a lot of other things, but that's something that he can work on throughout the season. See, Richard says now they have a bench. Matisse will come in and be a better defensive stopper coming off the bench. Yeah, I think things like that you do well. You always grow on them. You always add little intricacies in how you see and how you approach the game of different players. So that's a given. But like I said, you see that he has worked on his jump shot. Again, it's arguably not going to be where a lot of Sixers fans want it to be, considering, but that's not his forte. His forte is doing what he does. And now that he can shoot it, once he gets that, it's just gravy for us. It'll be better for us once he gets it. So you got to kind of bear with him.
Right.
Put him on a little bit of a learning curve because you see that he did work on it. So that's where I say you put him on a little bit of a learning curve.
Right.
The other additions, the addition of Daniel House, the other 3-and-D guy, kind of can take the place of Danny Green, and he's a little younger than Danny Green.
He hit the three?
He can hit the three. He can also put the ball on the floor. And again, he's a little younger. He can play D, and he's a little younger than Danny Green. The last thing Richard says, he says, the problem last year, they would get a 15, 20-point lead and the bench would give it up in 5 minutes. Yeah, I don't think that would be the same case this year.
Do that.
Like I said, you got Montrezl Harrell, slightly undersized at that 4 and 5 spot, but his heart is there. His mind is there. So I'm not worried about that.
Right.
You bring in the DeAnthony Melton, a guy who can 3-and-D on the wing. He can he can guard people on the wing. He has the size.
2, 3, and 4.
He can shoot the three. He can also put the ball on the floor and create his own shot. Things that we haven't had consistently in the last couple of years. So the roster moves, a lot of people are beginning to see them take shape, as opposed to when they first got reports of A, B, and C being signed. They were all, oh, well, why are we giving him this and whatever. Now you're starting to see how things are beginning to fill into place. Nate says, I like what we've done in the offseason. I think we got one more move in place, and I think it will involve working on compromise. Yeah, I think that's another part of the reason why they made that move and waived Isaiah Joe and Charles Bassey. And congratulations to Isaiah Joe, who was picked up by the Oklahoma City Thunder. So that's a good thing for him. A young team, with him, they will use him, and he'll probably get more minutes than he arguably would have got here with the changes of the roster. So that's a good thing for him that he got picked up. Because there was talk that the Sixers could bring him back on a lesser contract, maybe a two-way. But he got signed, so that's a good thing for him. Again, like I said, I like the moves that the Sixers have made. It's all up to the coaching staff and up to Doc Rivers now to get the rotation in order. I'm guessing that they have a pretty strong idea because we kick off tomorrow against Boston in Boston. Second game tomorrow for the NBA is Lakers at the Warriors.
Yes, sir.
The Lakers are there. The Lakers are looking to spoil ring night.
Ceremony. Yes, sir. Why not, man?
Yeah, he'll definitely get way more minutes at OKC, Richie. I truly believe that as well. We talked a little bit about the controversy with Draymond Green. You got the Warriors coming back as defending champs.
Upset.
I don't know how long Draymond's going to be away from the team. I don't really know how much it's going to truly affect them when he comes back, because Jordan Poole has just signed an extension.
Big contract.
So there may be some possibilities, or there may be some fruition coming to the rumors of possible talks and listening to trades for Draymond Green. But we'll see. The season is upon us. I look for it to be a really, really good season. A lot of moves were made. Some big names were moved to some different places. We'll see how quickly these all these moving parts can fit in with their new respective teams, how these pieces come into play, and definitely we will be in tune all season long. Especially with our Sixers, we'll be in tune all season long.
Dave, how you think we feel about Atlanta?
What about Atlanta?
You don't think they on a team on the rise with Young? They missing. What they missing?
They got Trae Young.
Yeah.
They picked up DeJounte Murray.
Yeah.
They still need a big.
Yeah.
Clint Capella ain't gonna do it.
Yeah. The outside looking in.
John Collins is more like a one-trick pony.
Okay.
To me.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry.
Kevin Huerter
right.
is a bench or role player.
Right.
So you got the changes in the rules from last year.
Right.
The size.
Trae Young. He's still gonna be carrying that team.
He's still gonna be carrying that team, but I don't know how far he's gonna carry him with his size and with everything else.
He's tough though.
And what little they have behind him. So we'll see how that plays out, folks. In your schedules for today, like we got NBA, we got NHL,
baseball.
We got baseball in October. Playoff baseball.
Sports is gonna be
lit. Sports is really in the swing right now. Like I said, we got the 4 major sports in action.
The schedule today.
Hold on. Right. In the NHL tonight, you got the Ducks and the Rangers, the Coyotes and the Maple Leafs, Panthers and the Bruins, the Kings and the Red Wings, the Penguins and the Canadiens, the Canucks and the Capitals, Avalanche are at the Wild, the Jets and the Stars, the Hurricanes and the Kraken. Monday night, final game 5, American League Division Series, Guardians at the Yankees. Tomorrow night, like we said, Sixers, Celtics, 7:30 p.m. on TNT.
Right.
Lakers, Warriors, 10 p.m. the doubleheader for opening night on TNT.
Like 10 o'clock.
Wednesday continues the NBA full slated game. You got Magic and Pistons, Wizards, Pacers, Bulls, Heat, Cavs, Raptors, Rockets, Hawks, Pelicans, Nets, Knicks, Grizzlies, Hornets, Spurs, Thunder, T-Wolves, Nuggets, Jazz, Mavs, Suns, and Blazers, Kings. All of that
all tomorrow.
On Wednesday.
Right.
Let's see.
My anniversary day.
Again, like I said, Major League Baseball, we get the finalized for the final team for the American League Championship Series.
Right.
Moving into our last schedules and picks of the day. Remember tonight, Denver at the Chargers. Monday Night Football closing out Week 6. Antonio Sleepy Jones, thanks for tuning in. You're a little late though, bro. You got to get here earlier. Thanks for tuning in though, but you caught the tail end of us, and we definitely appreciate you as well.
Absolutely.
This coming Thursday, we kick off Week 7. We've got the Saints and the Cardinals. I'm going with the Saints there because the Cardinals are right now a mess. There are some issues between coach and star quarterback, so they've got to get that fixed immediately. Atlanta at Cincinnati. I'm going with the Bengals at home. Detroit and Dallas.
Got Dallas.
I'm going to go with Dallas. The only thing I hope that Dak is not being rushed back too soon with that throwing hand because you need your thumb. Absolutely. I would have gave him my one more week as well. But, with the way things went yesterday, they're probably kind of antsy and are getting a little nervous, so they're probably going to try and rush him back. I just hope it doesn't cause further injury to that hand and make him, lose more time this season. The Colts at the Titans. I'm going with the Colts. It looks like Matt Ryan is in a little bit of a rhythm right now. I'm not going to say he hit his stride, but I think he's in a little bit of a rhythm right now. So I'm going with Indianapolis. Green Bay at Washington. I'm going with Green Bay. Don't know the quarterback situation down in Washington. Of course, we know Carson Wentz will not play. It's probably going to be Tyler Heineke. I'm going with Green Bay, especially coming off a loss. Tampa Bay at Carolina. Going with Tampa Bay. The Giants at the Jaguars. Going with the Giants there. Richard says, let's see, they have Detroit and Chicago coming up next. Then the bye. Why would you risk his hand getting re-injured for two teams that you can still beat with Cooper Rush? It makes no sense there. They're playing absolutely rich. I hope they don't do it, but we all know Jerry Jones. Cleveland at Baltimore. I like Baltimore at home. The Jets at the Broncos. I'm going with the Jets on the road. Houston and Las Vegas.
This is going to be an upset, right?
I'm going with the Texans there.
Me too.
The Chargers are home against the Seahawks. I'm going with the Chargers at home. Going with KC over San Fran in the Bay.
No.
And I'm going to surprisingly go with Pittsburgh over Miami. And then next Monday, I like New England at home over Chicago. And folks, that
world, baby.
is your
Week 7 picks.
Full Week 7 picks. That is your full episode of the SportsRap Podcast for October 17th, 2022. Folks, listen, the sun is beginning to try and peek out a little bit. It's a little cloudy day. Going to be a little chillier tomorrow. So get out and enjoy some of this cloudy day. Make the best of it. Be great on purpose, as always, folks. You know where to find me. Right here every Monday on heat100radio.com. You can also catch me. Facebook, SportsRap Podcast LLC is the group page. At SportsRap_D on Instagram and Twitter. You can also get over to YouTube, SportsRap TV. Make sure you get over to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up on the videos that you like. And then also hit that bell so you will be alerted, as I always alert you to. But hit that bell so you'll be alerted when new content is up. You can also get this audio right here each and every Monday live. You can also get it most of the time by Wednesday on iHeart, Spreaker, Google, Apple Podcasts, and most of your podcast outlets. Folks, stay tuned. Got some things coming up. Like I said, remember the announcement we made. You can be part of the Heat 100 radio team. Just hit me up, like I said, Facebook, SportsRap Podcast is the group page, on Instagram, at SportsRap_D. DM me there or message me there. Rich, we definitely going to have to get you in here for a live set. We will definitely, I got your number, I got your information, and we talk frequently, so we'll definitely make that happen. Again, and serious inquiries only. Like I said, we will train you up. We will get you all the skills that you need. Like I said, contact myself or Monica Mason. You can get her, Monica Mason, on Facebook, heat100radio.com, heat100radio@gmail.com. Also at simplymonica72 on Instagram. Folks, thanks for tuning in. Like we said, as always, enjoy the rest of your day. Kick off your work week and enjoy some Craig Mack flavor in your ear. Like we just gave y'all a lot of flavor. Enjoy, folks. See y'all next week.